All right, everybody. Good early evening. We are less than an hour away from the show with the Hawks Nest, where me and him are going to talk about some draft stuff post combine. But we just got some breaking news from the team, and we got to take a few minutes to talk about this one because it tells us a lot about what the team is going to look like in 2024. So, we got the latest from Mike Garofalo on X here, and it concerns Tyler Lockett. So, Tyler Lockett has restructured his deal to stay in Seattle. He has restructured his deal. It's not a pure restructure in the sense of they just converted his base to bonus, but it is actually kind of a new contract, it looks like. And there's a lot that we still don't totally understand. There's a lot that we're going to have to be informed on in the coming days. But let's take a look at the information we have and try to put this together. So, Garofalo says 2 years, $30 million with a maximum value of $34 million. So, if you go to Spotrac, which still has his old contract up, so trying to decipher this, if you take a look at the cap hits for Lockett over the next 2 years, you can see he had 2 years left on his deal, so that stays the same. But it was $27 million in cap hit in 2024 and then $27 million in cap hit in 2025. So if that's the number they're talking about, that's $54 million. So if they're talking about the cap hit, that means Lockett took a pay cut of $24 million. Now, if they're just talking about his yearly cash, like the money he actually gets, then that was going to be 17 and 17. So then it's just kind of a small tick down, but still a tick down nevertheless. So we're going to have to let things play out for a little bit to figure out exactly what this means. What does it actually mean in terms of our cap hits? Now, Jason of overthecap.com has already taken a shot at this. So let's take a look at what he has to say here. Lockett originally had a salary cap charge of about $27 million on a $17 million salary. Based on Mike Garofalo's report, it sounds like he dropped his salary to $13 million and kept 2025 intact. My guess is the new cap number will be about $13.75 million, perhaps a little bit lower if a void year. So that's one of the experts. That's one of the cap experts. But even he admits that he's guessing because we don't have all the information yet. So if you want to know exactly what the new contract looks like, you're going to have to give it a little bit of time. But this is a reasonable guess. So if this is the case, then his cap hit is going to be just under $14 million for 2024. Which is almost half of what it was before. So basically, his cap hit goes from 27 to 14, call it. 13 million in savings, which opens up a significant amount of spending power for the Seahawks in this upcoming free agency period. We now have significantly more money than even I thought we were going to have, because I did not think we were going to be able to do this Lockett restructure, because this is not so much a restructure as it is just plain a pay cut, it looks like. Because the alternative would be the money that we saved on this, which is, like I said, about $13 million. If that $13 million moves into 2025, that means his cap hit for that year would be like $40 million. Yeah, it would be just around $40 million at 33 years old for Lockett. Like, there's no way we're doing that. I find that very hard to believe. So we're going to need a little bit of time for OTC and Spotrac to get the latest numbers here. They're eventually going to put up the new contract. But if you're just looking at it in terms of cap hits, then it's really, really good. But I think more than likely what happened is that when Jason says they kept 2025 intact, that means this probably stayed the same. So we would be in the exact same position going into 2025 as we were before this restructure. And if that's true, that means he's got the $27 million cap hit in 2025, and it would be just under 10 million dead to move off of him. And if that's true, then there's no downside to this decision whatsoever. Lockett just straight up said, "Here's $13 million back against the cap just because I like it here and I want to stick around, and I know that you guys can't keep me at this cap hit," which I've said it before, I'll say it again. Yes, 27 million is too much for 1 year of Tyler Lockett against the cap, but I was willing to do that overpay because he's still a good and valuable player. So I was okay living with the cap hit before, but if the cap hit has basically been cut in half, which is what Jason's indicating, then all the better. So you do the math. If this number is true, we are now like $55 million under the cap, which, I mean, I thought we could get there through a Geno extension, which is something that I've been advocating for a while now, but this is another way to create about the same amount of cap space. So they found another way to do it, but they've gotten there ultimately. So, good news. I like it. I wanted Lockett to stay here. I did not want to see him go. Did not want to see this offense without him for 2024. I know that he's past his prime. I know that he's not the greatest player anymore, but he's still a good, valuable player who brings more to the table than he takes off of it. And I can live with that. I'm okay with overpaying good players. Problem was we were overpaying players that weren't even really that good anymore. Guys who weren't on the field. Guys like Jamal Adams. Guys like, to a certain extent, you might say Quandre Diggs. I don't think Diggs is bad. I do think Diggs is still a good player, but we made him look bad because of the way we were using him, and we were going to make him look really bad in the new defense. Lockett, I don't feel that same way about. I'm okay with overpaying Lockett because he's good. But this is all the better. And if we truly have given no concessions here, it looks like there might be about $4 million combined over the next 2 years in incentives. Like there's some possibility that I guess he could have like a 1,000-yard season and then get $2 million extra, and then the next year maybe the same thing. I don't know what it could be. But the point is, it looks like this was just a pure new contract, which players will do that sometimes. If a player really wants to stay, and if a player feels like he's made enough money in his life already, and the player feels like it's the best thing for him is to just stay where he is, and he doesn't feel like moving, doesn't feel like going to a new team, learning a new system, playing with brand new players, you might just say, yeah, I'll give some money back so I can stick around. You see it, Von Miller just did it with Buffalo. So that being said, not every player does it. So shout out to Tyler Lockett for being willing to do it. Shout out to Tyler Lockett for giving back to make sure he could keep this party together. One more year in Seattle, at least. We'll see if there's any kind of a reciprocation on the other end. Maybe more of his 2025 salary is now guaranteed, which would make it a little bit harder to move off of him next year, which, I mean, we'll have that conversation later. But the early indication is that it's basically just a pay cut. He basically cut his cap hit for 2024 in half so he could stick around. All right, so let me know what you guys think. It's big news. We cleared significant cap space. If the experts are right, about 13 million we cleared. So I will see you guys later. I will see you guys in stream in less than an hour. Go Hawks. And yeah, Lockett going to be here for another year. Happy to see it. Happy to hear it. And we've got some more money.